So you expose yourself to something scary, but in small amounts. You get some positive feedback. You reflect on yourself. Make sure that you got this. You build your self-esteem at that, and just like that, your confidence grows. Now, but sometimes confidence is not enough. Sometimes you're lacking the actual skill of, if we're talking about public speaking, then, engaging the audience, making sure they're listening to you. I don't know, the skill of storytelling. By the way, another fun fact, people think that some people are just good storytellers, just like that, just, born that way, and that's it. And then there is everybody else. Not true. So yes, some of them might have been born with the skill, but a lot of people need to learn the skill, especially if they are public speakers. The chances are they have actually learned how to tell good stories.
Hello, and welcome to episode 103 of the Quiet and Strong podcast, especially for introverts. I'm your host, David Hall, and the creator of quietandstrong.com. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to understanding the strengths and needs of introverts. Introversion is not something to fix, but to be embraced. Normally, we'll air each episode on a Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform. Leave me a review. That would mean a lot to me. Tell a friend about the podcast. Help get the word out there that introversion is a beautiful thing. Diana Robertson is an award-winning speaker, communication skills trainer, TEDx speaker and coach, and founder of Skillsme, a soft skills academy. Having been a shy introvert herself, she has now devoted her life to helping people unleash their potential with the power of communication skills. I'm excited for my guest, Diana. Diana, welcome to the Quiet and Strong podcast.
Hi, David. Hi.
We're going to get into the great work that you're doing and the company that you started. But before we do that, let's just talk about your own journey. You described that when you were growing up, you were shy and introverted. How did you work through that to now helping people with things like improving their communication skills?
Sure. I'm going to take you back and quite a bit back to my childhood. And to give you a good image of myself, I used to be this very quiet, very shy girl who would always sit at the back corner of the classroom, never raise her hands, and not because I would not know the answer to the questions, but because I just would not want all this attention. And I was afraid, obviously, what would people think? Especially my classmates, would they think something bad about me? So I would rather just not say anything out loud in front of them and stay quietly and nicely in my lovely, cozy corner. So I was this type of student. And I didn't have many friends. In fact, I was lucky to have one very good friend. But in general, that's all. But it did not bother me until my family started to move about, and that meant changing schools. And when that started to happen, I got to meet all those new children in new schools. And a lot of the schools I went to were much larger than my previous ones. So we're talking really loud environments. Also, it would be in another country, so a different mindset as well. And here I am realizing that I don't know how to make friends. I never needed to. And we're talking year 9 at this point. Year 10 at this point. And what happened is that I remember for the first school I moved into, for half a year, I didn't have anybody. I was crying during the breaks because I felt so lonely. And the only reason is because, I didn't know what to do about this. I was waiting for somebody to approach me to ask me, let's say, if I want to be their friend or I want to hang out with them. So that's how my childhood looked like. Later, I faced the same problem when I went to university and I started looking for internships. And I was a super good student. I was very studious, very hardworking. I really wanted to succeed in my life. So I went to a good university and everything. I got through all the stages of application for those internships. But then there would always be this last stage where you have to meet them. There is no way around it. You have to meet them and you have to make that positive first impression. And every single time I would get to the stage, this interview stage, normally with an HR and the head of that team, everything would go wrong. My hands would start to shake, my face would go red. They'll ask me, so why should we hire you? And all I would be thinking about is seeing my, I see my CV right in front of them. And all I'm thinking about is like, oh, come on, everything about me isn't that CV or resume. That's why you should hire me. Why are you making me say this again? And just like that, I didn't get, I didn't get the internships I wanted at all. And this would almost haunt me. And it affected me pretty badly because, I really cared about my success. But then if I can't even find a job, what's the point of all my studying, right? And later, I said to myself, okay, well, maybe there is something I could do about it. Maybe I should do something about it. And I started to look for various ways how I could improve. But the thing is, you need to understand here, David, that at this point, I was certain that this is just a part of who I am. I was born this way. I know some children at school or at university who were outgoing and fun. And I know I have never been like them. And I will never be like them. I wasn't like that. I don't have those social skills. So when I started to look for various things that could help me, I still had the mindset that, well, I can't really change. How will I change? You don't just suddenly transform and become very talkative, you know? But later, having tried various things, and I do mean various things because I didn't know what to do with myself. So I tried public speaking, I tried improv, I tried drama, I tried debates, and a lot more other things, clubs and courses. And having tried all that, eventually, after a couple of years, I started to see that certain things started to change in me. Specifically, the way I presented myself and the way that I talked started to sound different. And at that point, when I got this realization, I was at the stage of my life where I no longer needed to look for jobs and trying to impress people, the other side of the table. I was at that stage, I was already in a place where I was the one hiring people. And that realization was quite extraordinary for two things. A, because I realized how important communication skills are and how many doors they open. If initially I wanted to just a job, now I'm an entrepreneur. But also it really helped with my personal relationships. So, for example, with my husband, I was the one to ask him out on a date, on the first date. Again, for a girl who didn't know how to make friends, that's quite an achievement. And as I would say, the second big realization that I had is that actually we can change. And actually, no, we're not born one way or the other, like either, shy and unconfident and talkative, outgoing, fun and social. No, actually, you can build those things. Specifically, you can build communication skills, and that makes does absolute wonders. Now, I'm not saying that you're changing from being an introvert to an extrovert. We can talk about that later, but I'm not saying that. But I am saying that one can build certain skills to become more adjusted to life and become more successful. And once I realized that, I thought, okay, good for me, I'm sorted. But what about the rest? What about all those people who have the same mindset like I did, where, okay, I'm just unlucky, I'm born this way, there is nothing I can do about it. And that was the reason why I established the company I own now, which is Skillsme Academy, where we help people develop communication skills through a certain methodology that I can share with you later, for if in case anybody of your listeners want to develop communication skills too.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for that story. And I know that so many introverts out there are relating to exactly what you said, that they felt like something was wrong. They didn't have the communication skills. But you also brought up a really good point. It's you can change so much. And I will always say, you're not going to change being an introvert because introversion is a beautiful thing. We're deep thinkers or deep feelers, and that's a great thing. But you have to learn to work with that. You have to learn how to improve your communication skills and use your great strengths as an introvert. And so that can be amazing. So when did you start figuring out that you were an introvert, and how did you embrace that?
All those experiences that I shared with you, David, I mean, this was part of
Yeah.
being an introvert. But I think that the moment where it became clear to me, like, there is nothing wrong with me, and this is just being an introvert and all this behavior associated with it, was when I read Susan Cain's book, which for me was an eye opener. Finally, I realized that actually there is nothing wrong with me, and it's just a part of who I am. And this made me think about it in a different way, like rather than changing myself, like changing as in not changing is the wrong word. Rather than fixing myself, I started to embrace who I am and build on, well, just incorporate the things that I learned about introversion, just like you mentioned. So, for example, things like, okay, I'm a public speaker. I do this because, wait, I learned to enjoy public speaking, yes, but also because I need to spread the word about my brand, and because, I teach as well. So it's part of my job today. But I get super exhausted. I get super, super tired from doing that. And initially, I saw that more like a weakness. Right now, I see that more as a part of who I am, and I just work around that. I make sure that after a speaking opportunity, and this is included as a speaking opportunity,
Yes.
I make sure that I have some rest time. I try not to have two events at the same time. So it's things that you learn about yourself and start to work around that. Same thing with calls. I make sure that I have days totally free of calls just because I get so tired. I mean, I was joking with my friend earlier that if I take a call and the call is 1 hour, it actually takes 3 hours of my time, because 1 hour for talking and 2 hours for resting after that, where I can't really do anything productive. So yeah, I think the biggest realization was after that book. It made me embrace my introversion and think about it differently.
Yes, that book was important to me too. Susan Cain's Quiet. Many guests have shared the same thing. So we owe a lot to Susan Cain for bringing awareness that, just like you said, there is nothing wrong with you. So if anybody's listening that still is having that struggle, there's nothing wrong with you. You're in the right place. We can talk about how you can understand your introverted gifts and become amazing. And it's funny, this show is about strengths and also needs and some strategies for success. And you just talked about some needs. Like, I've been looking forward to speaking with you for a while now, Diana. But guess what? Like an hour before this, I kind of went into preparation mode where I wasn't doing anything else. I was just thinking about, just kind of relaxing, thinking about the things that we were going to talk about. And then afterward, I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to be jump right into the next thing. And I use my calendar that way. Once a guest books, I'm going to then block off that next hour or so. And it's just, you learn what those needs are. There's nothing strange about it. It's just, what do I need and how am I going to be successful?
Absolutely. I'm totally with you. Yeah.
So there are many introverts out there that are just have always been confident. So, it's not a struggle for everybody. But for some of us, it is a struggle where we don't start out confident. How do you see that introverts can gain confidence?
Confidence. So think of confidence and building confidence as of playing a game. And I give you a game that you never played in your life before. And in the beginning, it looks very confusing, but then you start playing. And by the end of level 1, you realize that, actually, it's not so bad. Then you go to level 2. It becomes harder, a little bit harder, but you're still managing and you're learning along the way and you're managing those challenges. Then level 3, level 4, etc. And just like that, you're building your skill and also the confidence to play that game compared to if I gave you the game and gave you level 10 straight away. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and with confidence, it's the same thing. You want to expose yourself to something that you want to learn, something you're not confident about, but you want to expose yourself in small doses so that by the end of level 1, you can see, oh, I've done that okay. I didn't die. Like, for example, if it's a public speaking opportunity, let's not start with 200 people. Let's start with 2 people, maybe 2 people who are your friends, who are not going to say anything bad. Then as level 2, let's keep it 2 people, but let's make them colleagues. And then just like that, you increase the difficulty slowly. But every time you look back and you say, oh, I didn't die here. Nothing happened here. Nothing bad happened here. I can do it. I could do it last time. I could do it this time. Now, I have a case to share with you. It's one of my past students. And he came to me. We normally ask, so I mean, what's your story? What do you want to learn now? And he told me that he used to be a one-on-one tutor, and he loved the job. He was great, and he was also good at speaking in public. But now he doesn't have any confidence to do that at all. And he wants to relearn that, learn that again and get the confidence back. I'm like, hold on, but how is that possible? What happened to you? He was like, well, you see, after the one-on-one tuition, what I did is I was given a job at a school to teach a group of students. And the thing is, they weren't normal students. They were challenging teenagers. And it was very hard for me. It was extremely hard for me. In fact, I didn't manage to control the class at all. And at the end, I was fired. And after that incident, I have lost all my confidence for public speaking. And now I can't speak in public at all. So if we take his example, what happened there is that he was on this level 1, one-on-one tutoring, and then suddenly he jumped to level 10. I mean, imagine teaching challenging teenagers. I mean, it's super hard. And he didn't manage that. And because of that, he didn't just go back to level 1. He went several steps before that. So we're talking before level 1, because his confidence really dropped. So I would say the key to building confidence is to expose yourself to that thing that you fear, but in small doses, and then seeing the good, like you're recognizing your good achievements after each level, after each difficulty.
Yeah, definitely. And part of that you brought out is you have to check your thoughts. It's like, hey, that wasn't so bad. You have to change your thoughts, because often when we approach what we think are scary situations, and that's part of it, but if you don't change your thoughts, then the next time it's going to be scary too. But if you change your thoughts and say, hey, you know what, that wasn't so bad, or I did good on that, or that kind of thing, that makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And another thing is, it's absolutely fine that it stays scary. So for example, right, like for me, even with this podcast, like I'll be honest, David sent me the questions, but even so, like, how you can prepare for one thing and then not say that. I mean, I always have some sort of fear, and I speak in front of the public almost every single day, and I still feel nervous before speaking in front of people. I still do that, and it's okay. It's normal, but it's good type of nervousness. It's not scary, panicky. So it's okay to be a bit scared, and it's absolutely normal to be scared if you're doing something new. It's part of it. You're supposed to be. But it's just, the question is just still getting that confidence slowly so that it doesn't feel too scary or too freaky, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, because I mean, if it's too scary, then we might not be having this great conversation, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, you can still get nervous. I don't get very nervous anymore about many things, but part of that is just that I do the preparation I feel like I need to do as an introvert. So
Mm. That's another great point, by the way. Just we introverts need more preparation, and it's fine. That's normal. It doesn't mean that the person who can speak on the spot, that's the smart person, and you're the dumb person because you need to prepare. No, not at all. It's just how our brains work.
I will also just say with our preparation, we can come up with some brilliant things. So don't discount
Absolutely.
it. Is there a strength that you feel like you have because you're an introvert?
Yes, multiple, but I would say one of them is introversion is very often associated with deep focus. And by the way, just a disclaimer, everything I would be saying today about introversion, I mean, we all lie on different spectrums, so it might not apply to 100% of the people,
Right,
but it
right.
would apply to a good portion of introverts, let's say.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
introversion is associated with better focus, whereas extroversion is associated with multitasking. And I feel that the ability to focus and focus very well is my absolute power, especially when I compare myself to my sister, who is a real extrovert. And my goodness, she always seeking an opportunity to get distracted, just not to do the one thing, if, for example, for a long period of time. But at the same time, it's her enemy because, well, I can get the work done much better. No, I mean,
Yeah,
she's amazing at her work. Don't get me wrong, but
of
it's just
course.
like,
Yes,
um,
exactly. And we all have our different gifts. And like you said, you could identify many strengths, and that's amazing. But at the same time, no introvert is exactly alike. As we're getting to know each other, there's probably a lot of things we have in common, but as we get to know each other more, there's probably some things where we differ. And that's fine because personalities are multifaceted. It's just not introversion, extroversion. But why I have the show is because I think there is a very significant part of being an introvert. And then one more thing on introversion. Is there a myth that you want to bust today?
a myth. Well, I think I'll talk about the myth in my industry, which
Yeah.
is the fact that an introvert, well, not the fact, what people say is that they imagine introverts to be those socially awkward, shy people. And the thing is, it's absolutely not true. It's not part of being an introvert. Some introverts are socially awkward and shy, but this does not mean that you are an introvert at all. In fact, there are extroverts who can be socially awkward and shy. In fact, social awkwardness and shyness are two things that are separate from this whole personality spectrum. So shyness is to do with confidence, and confidence, we just talked with you about that, how to build it. And both introverts and extroverts can lack confidence. It's absolutely normal. It doesn't make you an introvert or an extrovert. No, it just makes you a person with a high self-esteem or a low self-esteem. And most importantly, you can work on that. So that's nothing to do with introversion. And equally, social awkwardness or inability to communicate well, again, I mean, I say it all the time, you learn communication skills. Yes, some people were lucky to born with them, but okay, good for them. But if you feel that you need to learn them, you can. And it doesn't matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. That's it. So I would say that this is the biggest myth that I have to face all the time. That introverts are socially awkward and shy people. No, they're not.
Yeah, and so definitely introverts or extroverts, as you well put, can be shy or socially awkward. And the great thing is that those things can be overcome. You can learn to be confident. And a lot of what I'll say on this show is part of it, and I know for me and many people I've talked to, part of it is understanding your introversion. like we've been talking about, your strengths and needs, if you can understand those things, those can really give you confidence. And that, if you need a little break after giving a speech, there's nothing wrong with you. Your extroverted friend might not need that same break. And you could look at it like, oh, that's something weird. No, it's just something I need. So that's a big myth. And that's one that we definitely take on a lot is, as part of your expertise, is introverts can be amazing public speakers. And sometimes people think that we can't. And that's ridiculous, because introverts can be amazing public speakers.
Absolutely. I would say to introverts, actually, some introverts think that they can't. But I'm telling you, you can. You absolutely can. You just need to learn this. That's all.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. How do introverts that don't have confidence in public speaking, how do they get better at it? How do they prepare for a presentation or a speech?
Sure. So, the things that we deal with a lot at work. So it's confidence building and skill building. Now, confidence we already discussed. So you expose yourself to something scary, but in small amounts. You get some positive feedback. You reflect on yourself. Make sure that you got this. You build your self-esteem at that, and just like that, your confidence grows. Now, but sometimes confidence is not enough. Sometimes you're lacking the skill, the actual skill of, if we're talking about public speaking, then, engaging the audience, making sure they're listening to you. I don't know, the skill of storytelling. By the way, another fun fact, people think that some people are just good storytellers, just like that, just, born that way, and that's it. And then there is everybody else. Not true. So yes, some of them might have been born with the skill, but a lot of people need to learn the skill, especially if they are public speakers. The chances are they have actually learned how to tell good stories. Same thing applies to politicians or any public figures who tell interesting stories. It's literally a skill that you can learn. There are certain rules that you follow in storytelling, and your stories become interesting. So let's say you want.
Wait, let's stop right there. Let's talk about storytelling, because that's so important to all this, and that's a big part of the work you do. So if I don't feel like I'm a good storyteller, how do I learn to be a better storyteller?
Sure, but right now, then we have two questions open: how to build communication skills and how to tell good stories. Would you mind if I answer them just one after another?
Whichever order is great.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, I'll answer first how to build communication skills in general. That includes storytelling. And then we can discuss how anybody could make their stories more interesting. How's that?
Sounds great.
All right, let's do that. So if we're talking about building your communication skills, whatever skill that you have chosen, let's say storytelling, public speaking, I don't know, small talk, persuasion, sales, anything. The key here is understanding that we have two types of memory in our brain. In fact, it's more than two types, but two that would be relevant in this case. One is amazing. It's the conscious memory. It's amazing at memorizing things. So for example, if you, David, want to become a historian and I give you a book on history, that's the part of the memory you would be you'd be using to become a better historian. However, there is a totally different part responsible for building your skills, and that's called procedural memory. And a lot of people, when they want to learn communication skills, they don't realize that. And because of that, they waste a lot of their time. For example, I'll give you a more relatable example. So your daughter comes to you, David, assumes she doesn't know how to ride a bike, and she looks at you and she's like, Daddy, wow, you're an amazing bike rider. I would love to learn to do that and be as good as you are. Please help me. And now, David, you have a choice. You can do one of the three things to teach her how to ride a bike. Option number one, you ask her to check out Amazon and read a book about riding a bike there. Or you ask her to check out YouTube, watch some videos there. Or option C, you go out with her put her on a bike, and see what happens. Which option do you think will get her the result the fastest?
Well, we did it a while back. It's number 3. Actually doing it. Yeah, we definitely been through that.
All right, absolutely. Well, that is the correct question. Well done, and clearly you know it is the correct answer. Sorry, because she knows how to ride a bike now. Well, the thing is, when I talk about bikes, it seems to people very natural. Obviously, you go out there and you sit on the bike. But the thing is, when we talk about communication skills, for some reason, people forget that the skill of learning a bike is also it's just like a skill. It's a skill. And public speaking is also a skill. And to learn a skill, you need to do it. And that's back to that memory thing I mentioned. So there is the procedural memory, and it is the memory responsible for anything to do with procedures. So for example, that's the memory that you used when you were a child, when you learned how to walk. That's the memory you used for learning how to ride a bike. That's the memory you use when you need to, you're learning how to speak in public or networking or whatever. And that memory is built in only one way. No book will help, no video will help, only if you actually do the skill. And people hate hearing that, because that means that they need to actually do the work. But I'm super sorry, literally, that is the only way you can learn any communication skill. So you want to become a good at small talk, you have to go out to networking events and try to small talk again and again and again. After 6, 7, 8 times, depends, all people are different, you'll get the hang of it. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to read some books or watch the videos. You are, but my suggestion is to follow 30-70 rule. Spend maximum, and I mean maximum, 30% of your time dedicated for learning the skill on getting the information, and minimum 70% on actually doing it. And that would be the only way you will actually start seeing results. Otherwise, loads of people go out there on Amazon. And by the way, about the bikes, last time I checked, there were no books about how to ride a bike, not at least not the normal skill, if we're not looking some specific mountainous biking and things like that. But there are thousands of books about how to learn to speak better. And even though the process behind it is exactly the same.
You definitely have to do it. There are some things you can learn ahead of time, but like the point you're making is you can't just learn about it. You have to do it. But there's definitely some things you can learn and prepare for, but you got to do it. And I always say too, when you do it, just think, you know what, that was good, but what do I want to do next time? What do I want to do better next time?
Yeah, that's exactly the approach you want to have. You're absolutely right, David. So for example, let's say we're talking about networking, yeah? You want to become better at networking events. You start by going to an event you don't care much about. And you just start initiating those conversations. Start the small talk. Start to try to make connections. But on the event that you don't care about and people you don't care about. So even if everything goes wrong, who cares? They're going to see you again and you're not going to see them, right? And then afterwards, you dedicate some time for self-reflection and you think, okay, what are the things that I've done right? And it's super important to highlight those, because not everything is wrong. It's never that everything is wrong.
Right. Some of the things, good point.
Some of the things could have been better. So highlight those, specifically write how you could improve them better next time. And also highlight those that you did well. And why do you need to select the ones that went well? A, for your confidence, and B, so you keep on doing them next time you're on the next event. So you look at your sheet, you'll select the things that you keep on doing, and you select 1 or 2 maximum things that you want to improve. You don't try to improve 100 things. So you select 1 or 2 things and improve that. Just work on that. Again, after that event, analyze. How did you do? Do you tick those boxes? Do you not? And then give yourself the next challenge. Okay, next networking event, I want to be better, I don't know, with my voice, I don't know, for example. Or I want to memorize people's names better. I don't know, whatever it is that you want. And just like that, one step at a time, you'll start seeing small but consistent improvements. And eventually you will look back at where you started and realize like, oh, I'm the master of networking right now. And I didn't know how to do it at all in the past. So that's how it works.
Yeah. And a superpower that we have that you mentioned is introverts are really good at reflection. So I'd never thought about going to some low stakes event to practice. That's a good tip too, where the outcome doesn't matter that much, where you could just practice your small talk or networking skills. That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I hope that answers the question about the learning communication skills. Do you have any questions about that before I go to the storytelling question?
No, let's talk about storytelling.
Okay, let's talk about storytelling. So what's the question about storytelling?
How do we get better at it? If I'm feeling like I'm not a great storyteller, but I know it's important, how can I improve that?
All right.
What makes a good story?
Yeah, that's the question to ask. So there are a lot of things that make good stories. And of course, I won't be able to share with you all of those on this episode. I have a whole course of it.
Yeah.
But if I was to select one or two things, I would say, the conflict. And a lot of people don't realize that. So when I say conflict, I don't mean an argument. It could be an argument, but it's bigger than that. It's how storytellers refer to this part of the story where something doesn't go right. So you could call it a problem, some sort of issue. So I'll give you an example. David, think of a friend, any friend who came from after a really good holiday, and this friend is sharing with you how amazing their holiday was, how everything was perfect, and they're showing you photo after photo, those beaches, those cocktails, and everything. You look at that first minute, you feel okay, yeah, that's cool, excited, cool pictures, but then after that, the novelty just wears off. You're like, okay, well, I understood you had a good holidays. I mean, there's nothing really interesting about it. And then the person keeps on talking for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and your mind is just wandering off thinking about other things, right? And then you have some other person, so another friend who also came from a holiday, but instead of showing you all those photos how everything was amazing, the person says to you, oh my God, David, you won't believe, on our first day at the hotel, let's say somebody has stolen my laptop and I still needed to do a lot of work, blah, 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 blah. And then the person tells you how they started to look for a laptop everywhere, how they I don't know, interviewed every single cleaner that was visiting their room. I mean, this is a silly example, but I'm sure you have heard stories where things didn't go well. But because they didn't go well, that allowed the speaker to tell you something that would really draw your attention in. And you'd want to really find out, okay, what was the result? What's the end of the story? Did they find the laptop? Did they not find the laptop? So one of the biggest secrets behind good storytelling is making sure that there is this problem in the story. It's not flat. And you want to center the whole story around that problem. So that problem means story almost. Like it's an opportunity to tell a story. Nothing interesting happening, everything going well, that's not a basis for a good story, if that makes sense. The same thing works with Hollywood movies. If you watch them, you realize that there is no single movie where everything is just great. Always something is going wrong. And that whole story is revolving about that some issue that happens. in the movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So I
So
know that
yeah.
storytelling is an important part of our presentations and public speeches, but overall, what does make a good and compelling presentation and public speech?
Well, I can share with you my personal opinion. Uh, People would argue this, but in my opinion, what's really, really important in any type of presentation is, first of all, the message that the person is trying to share, or is sharing. I mean, a lot of people, well, and the tools that they're using to deliver that message, for example, such as the tool of storytelling. But for me as a person, I really enjoy good content. And for me, good content, like what's the value the person is saying, is much more important than their confident voice, their good hand gestures, the way they stand on the stage. And don't get me wrong, all of these things are important, but it's only the fluff around it. I mean, it's something, and plus it's something anybody can learn. Yes, I mean, if you don't have the skill, you can learn it. But what's much harder to learn is to say something what people want to hear. And in order to learn that, there is this great exercise that I ask my students to do sometimes, is when you're on a stage, imagine this audience sitting all with the signs, large signs with the large letters on them, saying, "Why should I care? Why should I care?" And if in your entire presentation, even before you started the presentation, when you were preparing, you were thinking about those people, who are they, what things they care about, what things would be interesting for them, and then you keep that in mind throughout your presentation, even if your voice is not super confident, your gestures are not brilliant, they will still be listening to you because there is some value for them specifically in what you say. So for me, I would say that's what makes a good speaker, the person who knows exactly what value to give to their audience.
Yes, very good. So we've talked about a lot of great things. How do you help people with these things?
So Skillsme Academy, we are a virtual school for developing communication skills. And what we focus on is specifically the part about learning and acquiring a skill rather than the knowledge. So remember, I mentioned to you the only way you can learn a communication skill if you actually do it. Well, what we do is we provide this environment. So we do it via Zoom normally, where every single person who comes to us gets the opportunity to actually perform the skill. So for example, if they're learning storytelling, what they do in practice session, that every single person gets to tell 2 stories. It's just the standard thing. And then you come to those classes for several weeks and you realize that, suddenly you're much better at telling good stories. So that's what we focus on. We give some content for people to learn in their own times, then analyze like videos. But then all the learning actually happens when the person gets to do the story and gets the feedback on how to improve it. That's what we do.
Very cool. So if people want to learn more about you and the work you do, what's the best way to find out?
The best way, well, it depends what you want. So if you're considering courses for yourself, so you want to become a better communicator, we teach, right now we have storytelling, we have impromptu speaking, and launching a couple of other things as well. So the best way to do would be to write skillsme.co.uk. So skillsme.co.uk, and select one of our courses. Also there, you'll find a lot of free workshops that you can also join just to learn about various communication skills and about confidence. But if you want to reach out to me directly, the best way would be to find me on LinkedIn. If you write Diana Robertson Skillsme, so Diana Robertson Skillsme, and connect to me. Don't follow, actually connect and write to me how you found me. I will connect with you, and then I will answer any question you might have for me in a direct message. That will be the best way to connect with me personally.
Very good. And I will put all that in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. This has been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Likewise, thank you so much, David, for inviting.
Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to further connecting with you. Reach out at david@quietandstrong.com or check out the quietandstrong.com website, which includes blog posts, links to social media, and other items. Send me topics or guests you would like to see on the show. If you're interested in getting to know yourself better, there's now a free Type Finder personality assessment on the Quiet and Strong website. This free assessment will give you a brief report, including the four-letter Myers-Briggs code. I'll add a link to the show notes. There's so many great things about being an introvert, so we need those to be understood. Get to know your introverted strengths and needs and be strong.